You know, there's something about a killer opening line that can make or break a song. And as a lyricist, when you get it right, it can launch your song into the stratosphere and make it legendary iconic. Today's show, we're paying homage to some of the most killer, gripping opening lines of the rock era, written by master wordsmiths, jukebox poets. We're going to tell the stories of their songs and where their inspiration came from, including a musician who found his muse when his car broke down in the middle of the desert and he had to hitchhike home with total strangers. Another who was haunted by a bandmate's ghost. And then there's also the hard-nosed punk band who copycatted one of the first boy bands in their bubblegum hit with one of the best rockers of the time. And one lead singer who couldn't stand to sing his own iconic opening lyric, thinking it was cheesy high school kid poetry stuff. We got some killer stories coming up, along with some interviews, next on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you remember trying to figure out who the killer was, or is, in the board game Clue, you're going to dig this channel of deep musical nostalgia. Make sure to subscribe below right now. Click the bell, click the red button. I know you'll dig this channel so you get our interviews and everything. So for today's show, I'm taking a line that I've used in past episodes over the years. I'm going to make it a full-time show. I've actually been using it every week on my weekly radio show, Classic Rock U, and I call it KOL, as in Killer Opening Line. Today, we're going to showcase songs that begin with out-of-this-world lyrics that grab you by the throat and never let you go, written by the master jukebox poets of the rock era. Let me know what you think. And, you know, since there are so many songs with killer opening lines out there, rather than focus on just one, I'm going to cover 6 here. It's a little countdown. 3 from the 70s, 3 from the 80s. So we'll start in the 70s, coming in at number 6, though it could easily be number 1. For the first KOL, I got to go with one of the most acclaimed troubadours of the rock era, a key figure in the Southern California music scene, known for his introspective lyrics. He wrote his first hit when he was like 16, talking about Jackson Browne would Take It Easy. A track he co-wrote with the Eagles. We all know how this iconic road trip anthem starts, by heart. But listen to it again. I'm running down the road trying to loosen my load. I got 7 women on my mind. I got 7 women on my mind. 4 that want to own me, 2 that want to stone me, 1 that says she's a friend of mine. And of course, that's the whole first verse, but just the first 2 lines of that are enough to woo you. I mean, talk about a setup. In just a few lines, Jackson Browne and the Eagles, they have us hooked. Now, the origins of Take It Easy trace back to 1971 when Jackson Browne was working on his debut album. Now, he was already a rising star in the music industry. He'd written songs for Joan Baez, Linda Ronstadt, and the Byrds. But Jackson Browne faced mounting pressure to perfect his own material for a solo career. Seeking inspiration, Jackson embarked on a road trip to northern Arizona. However, his journey came to a standstill when his 1953 Willys Jeep broke down in Winslow, Arizona. Stranded there, Browne spent 2 days repairing the vehicle before continuing his trip, only to have a breakdown again after leaving Zion National Park in Utah. With his Jeep dead on the side of the road, Browne hitched a ride with a passing van on the way to LA. Reflecting on the unpredictable events in his trip, Jackson began writing the lyrics for Take It Easy. Take it easy, take it easy. After arriving in Southern California, much of the song was complete, including its iconic opening lines. He worked on it, like I said, in the drive back home when he hitchhiked with total strangers. However, Jackson couldn't close out the piece, so he kind of set it aside for a bit. Browne later shared the unfinished song with his neighbor and his friend Glenn Frey. Frey suggested some additional lyrics, and the two worked together to complete the song. Although Browne planned to save Take It Easy for his next album, he agreed to let Glenn Frey record it with the Eagles. The song? Well, that became the Eagles' first single in 1972. It went to number 12, way bigger than this chart position. You could argue it's the opening line that truly launched us into the mellow 70s, with Don Henley and Glenn Frey quitting Linda Ronstadt's band to start their own. Easy. Don't let the sound of your own wheel. And after this one, they would pass Linda Ronstadt up in popularity and just about everybody else in radio. They were right there with Zeppelin and Floyd in terms of success for the 70s, one of the biggest bands of all time. Coming in at number 5, but like the last one, it could easily be number 1. My KOL pick for the 70s here is I'm going with a lyricist that walked the line between genius and madness. It's the insanely talented and divisive lyricist and vocalist Roger Waters of Pink Floyd, and their title track from their incomparable 1975 album, Wish You Were Here.
So you think you could tell?
Starting out, let's just be clear, let's be honest. David Gilmour's guitar work to open Wish You Were Here is a masterclass on how to start a song. Haunting and beautiful, affecting, it creates an immediate bond between the listener and the song. I mean, in fact, it was so good that Roger Waters could have pretty much written anything here, and it would have still hooked any living, breathing human. Seriously, he could have vomited complete gibberish into the mic. Nobody would have cared. And yet Roger Waters wrote the perfect opening lines to match Gilmour's nostalgic intensity. So you think you can tell. Heaven from hell, blue skies from pain.
Heaven from hell, blue skies from pain.
I mean, with these two lines, Roger Waters establishes a poetic pattern of comparisons for Wish You Were Here. Greenfields versus Cold Steel Rail, Heroes and Ghosts, Hot Ashes for Trees.
Hot ashes for trees.
This song is stacked with deeply reflective references like this. And everyone shakes you to the core. It cuts to the bone.
For a lead role in a cage.
Now, it's common knowledge that Wish You Were Here was written, at least in part, as a tribute to former Floydian Syd Barrett, the band's original frontman. Through deteriorating mental health and drug abuse, Syd tragically lost touch with reality, and he was essentially booted from Pink Floyd in 1968. We talked about it before. But in Syd's absence, Waters had to step it up as the band's singer and songwriter. Years later, Roger Waters was still wrestling with guilt over Syd's departure. Wish You Were Here was kind of part of that healing process. It's a reflection on absence, and loss, and alienation. We're just two lost souls living in a fishbowl year after year. I love that line.
Swimming in a fishbowl, year after year.
Wish You Were Here breaks your heart every time you listen to it. Of course, that's why we go back again and again, because you're guaranteed to feel something profound with every play. To this day, Wish You Were Here continues to be one of Pink Floyd's most iconic and emotionally powerful songs. When rock's most progressive band proved that they could write a nice little country song, as Roger Waters would put it, even in a catalog as rich as theirs, this is still right up there.
Wish you were here.
Actually, the more I think about it and talk about it, I think Wish You Were Here would be my number 1 pick as best opening line. Anyway, rounding out the 70s, coming in at number 4, I want to jump ahead to the year 1976 and an opening line from a pioneer punk band hailing from Queens, New York. We've never covered these guys yet. It's the Ramones with Blitzkrieg Bop.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Now, this one isn't complex, however, it's wholly effective. Blitzkrieg Bop opens with a repetitive chant, "Hey ho, let's go."
Hey ho, let's go.
The chant is repeated a total of 4 times, and it's the perfect opening line to a song that tattoos itself upon your brain forever. It's a revved up rallying cry, and it makes you feel like you're about to be fired out of a cannon.
Hey ho, let's go. Hey ho, let's go. Hey ho.
And it's a feeling that Joey Ramone makes good on as he plows into the first verse. They're forming in a straight line. They're going through a tight wind. The kids are losing their minds. Blitzkrieg Bop. The word Blitzkrieg is a German term meaning lighting war. And this is exactly the vibe of the song, right? It's like a turbocharged lightning strike. But believe it or not, the famous chant that kicks this all off was actually a direct attempt to imitate a Scottish bubblegum pop band, the Bay City Rollers. As Joey Ramone explained, and I quote, "The Ramones are really like bubblegum music. I hate to blow the mystique, but we really like the Bay City Rollers. Their song Saturday Night had a great chant in it, so we wanted a song with a chant as well. Hey ho, let's go. Blitzkrieg Bop, that was our Saturday Night. Let me repeat that just in case you didn't hear it for those at home. Blitzkrieg Bop is the Ramones' Saturday Night. It's like if Metallica was inspired by New Kids on the Block. But as counterintuitive as that seems, I can kind of see where they're coming from. I'm not ashamed to admit that I've sung along to Saturday Night, as have you. Who hasn't? I mean, it's fun. It's addictive. It's a great pop song. One that hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1976. Such a big song in its day. Talking about the Bay City Rollers chant, drummer Tommy Ramone said, and I quote, "I thought it would be fun to do that for the Ramones too, and somehow I came up with, hey ho, let's go. I just liked the term because it made fun of Mick Jagger singing the Stones version of Walking the Dog where he goes high, low, tippy toe. We all used to goof on that and sing hey ho instead. So Blitzkrieg Bop was the Ramones' first single, but unlike Saturday Night, it wasn't a pop chart hit. I mean, it's one that we sing all the time now. It would go on to become a punk anthem, but it didn't chart. Defining song of the genre, it's been a pop culture staple as well, featured in TV shows like Detroit Rock City, Entourage, The Simpsons Date Night, and Spider-Man Homecoming, well, TV shows and movies.
Okay, Spider-Man, don't flip! Yeah!
Okay, so let's break into the 80s with KOL. My first KOL of the decade, coming in at number 3, goes to the master jukebox poet Sting from his time with the Police. I got da do 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 da 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 da. The song is a playful commentary on the simplicity of language and how words can be manipulated and misunderstood. It begins with the clever lines, "Don't think me unkind, words are hard to find." There are only checks I've left unsigned from the banks of chaos in my mind. Wow, such a fabulous opening line. Released in 1980 on the Police's third album, Zenyatta Mandata, the do-do-do, da-da-da-da combines slick wordplay with an infectious melody. It makes it both lighthearted and thought-provoking. The do-do-do, da-da-da-da, it was just the second Police song to break into the top 10 here in America. It actually went to number 10. Outside the US, it went to number 5 in the UK, number 4 in South Africa, number 2 in Ireland and Spain, and number 1 in Canada. As a writer, Sting was very influenced by the music before rock and roll.
You know, when you mention standard writers like Johnny Mercer, that's really what I aspire to. I don't know whether I've really achieved that, but that golden age of American songwriting is something that has inspired me and continues to inspire me. And really the idea of writing a standard that's the benchmark for me. And standards are timeless. You know, I mean, they hark back to a golden age, admittedly, but they still resonate today. And so, yeah, you've tapped into something that is my ambition, but it's moot whether I've actually achieved that.
So moving to 1981, my number 2 pick is from REO Speedwagon. The song is Take It on the Run, and I know that I don't have to tell you how this one starts. Every Gen X kid knows this by heart, as well as the baby boomers.
Heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend.
Heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend who heard it from another that you've been messing around.
From another you've been messing around.
This opening line stabs you right in the heart from the beginning, capturing the imagination and setting the table for the rest of this song. Written by REO's guitarist Gary Richrath, Take It on the Run is a story of rumors, betrayal, and infidelity. and the narrators wrestle with whether or not he should actually believe it. The song's lyrics pair with soaring guitar riffs and emotive vocals by one Kevin Cronin. It combines to create one of the 80s most essential power ballads. It was released as the second single from the massive album High Infidelity. It spent 15 weeks at #1, one of only a few rock albums to do that. Take It on the Run became one of Speedwagon's most iconic hits. It peaked at #5 on the Billboard Hot 100. It also hit #4 on the Cashbox chart and #6 on the Top Rock Tracks chart. I also got to give a shout out to its placement in Cobra Kai, which is one of my favorite shows in recent memory. And again, this opening line came from the great Gary Richrath, and Kevin Cronin assisted in finishing the song. Here's what Kevin said about it.
We'd worked all day, and I'm kind of frustrating, and he goes, we didn't really come up with anything. And Gary's like, well, I got this one slow one. I don't think it's really any good. It's a slow song. I'm like, well, let's hear it. Okay, I hear this. Heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend who heard it from another, you've been messing around. And I'm like, dude, that's the greatest opening line.
No kidding.
That not only that you've ever written, but I think I can honestly say, to me, the opening line of a song is so important. To me, probably the best ever is, I once had a girl, or should I say, she once had me.
Oh yeah, Norwegian
You hear that,
Wood.
Norwegian Wood, you hear that line, and it's like, I just want to hear the rest of that song.
I once had a girl, or should I say?
That line sets you up for the story, right? You want to hear where it goes. And also, it's so indelibly in the psyche now of the world that whenever you say, well, I heard it from a friend. This has happened a million times. Well, I heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend who. All right, so for my final KOL pick, my #1, got to go to 1987 with one of the biggest selling albums of the decade. See if you recognize these lines. I want to run. I want to hide. I want to tear down the walls that hold me inside. It's Where the Streets Have No Name from U2's Joshua Tree. Now, what makes these lines so perfect is the way that Bono sings them with the Edge's guitar playing. The song just transports you immediately, and you just feel like you're in another dimension. It not only set up the song, this line, but the legendary album, The Joshua Tree, as well as the year 1987 when U2 began its trek as arguably the greatest rock and roll band on the planet, at least for a few years. U2's frontman Bono explained why the band chose Where the Streets Have No Name as the album's opening track. He called it a gateway song. And he said, and I quote, "It was a perfect introduction. It was one of the most extraordinary ideas, only matched by the Doors' Break On Through to the Other Side as a throwdown to an audience. Do you want to go there?" Because if you do, I'm ready to go there with you to that other place. Call it what you like, a place of imagination where there are no limitations. And for anybody that doesn't like U2 out there, and there's some haters, how could you not love Where the Streets Have No Name? It's all about longing and transcendence, about escaping to a place of freedom.
Where the streets have no name.
But even though Bono was in love with the idea of the song, he couldn't stand its opening line, calling it teenage-level poetry. He thought they were cheesy. What was he on that day? Bono admitted that they were just ad hoc lyrics, just a sketch that he intended to go back and rewrite. But he never did. He forgot about it, which is the biggest regret with the song. What do you think? Do you agree? I actually think it's an incredible opening line. They speak to me in a way that few do. It works on so many different levels.
And touch the flame.
Consider U2's journey from college rock darlings to global superstars. By the time they dropped the Joshua Tree in '87, U2 was on the cusp of becoming a cultural phenomenon. Up to that point, they had hinted at commercial takeover with the #2 rock chart hit, New Year's Day, also Pride in the Name of Love.
Nothing changes on New Year's Day.
And in 1985, they captured the world's attention with a powerful performance of Live Aid. We've all been mesmerized by Queen's performance at Live Aid, but U2 had an incredible performance themselves. So by the time U2 released the Joshua Tree, they were ready to steal the spotlight. They were ready for their close-up. And this LP was so highly anticipated, it set a record by achieving platinum status in like 28 hours. So reading Streets from this perspective, it's the story of U2 breaking through to the masses. And Where the Streets Have No Name climbed to number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100, and it went to number 11 on the Rock Tracks chart. And it's remained one of U2's most popular songs throughout the years, and still one of the greatest rock songs ever. And they're still killing it with their performance at the Sphere. And this song does not disappoint when you see it there. So there it is. Those are 3 from the 70s, 3 from the 80s. What do you think? Do you like my #1 pick? That really would be my #1 pick. I think it would be between Where the Streets Have No Name and Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here. But what do you think are the great killer opening lines? What do you think are give me your top 3 killer opening lines below. Let's hear from you. What do you think? Who do you think always starts out the song the greatest? What are your memories of these songs? Let's have a great discussion below. Also, make sure to subscribe below so that you can be a part of this going forward. Till next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.